Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whether you're joining us via Zoom, via LinkedIn, or via YouTube. Just want to welcome all of you here, distinguished project leaders, project managers, business analysts, PMO stakeholders. This morning, you are in for a treat. We're going to talk about a very important topics that have to do with PMO, and also we're talking about hot topics of the day. So the title of our webinar today is Navigate the Chaos, PMOs Driving Value in Turbulent Times. Navigate the Chaos. I have led organizations with PMO. I have led organizations with other PMO. I can tell you this, a PMO brings value to an organization. So this morning, if you're running an organization, if your organization has different portfolios, whether it is a business, whether it is a nonprofit organization, whether you're a project manager, a business analyst, and if you're just curious about this term called PMO that stands for Project Management Office, also Portfolio Management Office or Program Management Office, it can be very confusing. I am delighted to have all of you here today representing such a diverse groups of professionals that will take your companies to the next level. So, and today you can pretty much witness it. The business landscape is no longer the way it used to be. It is not static. It is moving. The importance of a well-structured project management office cannot be overstated. The value is here, and you can see it. Organizations without PMO seems to be in pretty much all over the place. And as project managers, as business analysts, PMO stakeholders, it is up to you. You have this responsibility, you have the expertise, you have the experience to enable your organizations to navigate complex project challenges and also to deliver projects according to the triple concept of PMI, which is on time, on scope, and also on budget. We're not going to even go to customer satisfaction. All right.
Yep, you can
I'm
see it.
sharing right now, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Let's get going. So we're going to talk about navigate the chaos, PMOs driving value in turbulent organizations. For those of you who do not know me, I am Dr. Jimmy Godard. I'm a scholar, strategist, and technologist and a banker and a former banker, retired, and also a specialist in organizational leadership. I started my professional journey as a peak time teller in the financial industry, and I retired from the industry as a senior vice president for a Fortune 100 financial firm. My professional journey encompasses roles such as a personal banker, loan officer, and also various roles in project, program, portfolio, service delivery management. My friends, I have the privilege to lead several nonprofit organizations, including the Project Management Institute. I mentioned that to bring relevance to the topic of today. So I've had the chance to be in the finance world, in the business world, and also in the project management world. I would say it is really fun to manage both business and technology, and also leading an organization to new heights, to new horizon. And my educational credentials include a master's degree in computer information system, an MBA, and also a doctorate of management and organizational leadership, where my specialization was information system and technology. Funny enough, when I started doing my dissertation, I started with big data, and also from big data moved to how financial technologies or fintech will change or will impact, will transform traditional banking as we know it today. When I was doing my research on the topic, little did I know AI was going to take over our world outside of the financial industry, which we will be talking about in our presentation. I am a certified success coach and have had the honor of guiding many business professionals across a wide range from project management to entrepreneur and also to C-level executives. I love innovation, I love process improvement, and I love delivering results. At the end of the day, in my opinion, if you do not deliver results in anything that you're doing, If you cannot move the dial forward, you need to ask yourself the question, what is it that you're doing? So, my friends, my in professional involvement goes across multiple sectors, and I hope to bring this in our conversation today. The turbulent reality. Let's cut through the noise. We are living in an era full with noise and defined by uncertainty. I am a social scientist, therefore I try to stay away from politics. However, whether you like it or not, politics impact our social way of being, our social way of living. So people bring themselves to the organizations. Recently, we hear a lot of organizations saying to their employees, "You need to bring yourself to work." Now, people bring themselves to work, they bring all their garbage to work as well. So organizations that have to navigate a complex web of interconnected pressures internally with their employees and also externally with their vendors. What is in the news today? There you have it. Politics. Wherever you go in the United States and abroad, politics impact businesses. You cannot really manage your business outside of the pressure of politics. Today, we're not going to talk about politics, but we're going to talk about how global trade conflicts have disrupted the supply chains and create price volatility. I've worked with, I was in a meeting recently with several senior executives, IT executive and business executives, and their worries were about how we're going to change our pricing. Some of them, they have quarterly pricing set. And to have this market volatility, it really put them in a very in precarious positions because they have to change, they have to be more agile in the way they used to set their pricing. Check your newspaper today. And you will also about the volatility of the stock market. I was talking to a business president who told me he had a terrible week recently because his stock value went down so low he could not believe it. And you can even watch the news. I believe it was in one of those major network news. The CEO found out that his stock went down to by 40%. So you cannot disregard the economic volatility by the market fluctuations that we are in right now and the potential downturns. The demands of financial prudence becomes necessary. And therefore, the way we used to do things cannot be the same. In addition to that, you have groundbreaking and advancement in artificial intelligence, particularly in generative AI, that's pretty much impacting several people and several organizations. It's rapidly transforming industries, automating tasks, and also creating challenges for the workforce. So the confluence of these forces, my friend, require a shift in how organizations operate and manage projects. The combination of all those forces, whether it has to do with the stock market, whether it has to do with the tariff, whether it has to do with AI, you put all of those together, you have what I call the perfect storm. So today, how does project management interact with those three components that I just mentioned? You cannot have project management in the vacuum any longer. Project management is how you will need to run your business in the sense, identify the projects, execute the projects, and move your company forward. So we're talking about project management in the context of a world that is no longer predictable, if you will. So if you're dealing in an environment that's not predictable, predictable tools may no longer fit. Think about it. We're navigating international trades, international partners changing the pricing. You're also navigating the stock market. You're also navigating how artificial intelligence, generative AI is pretty much disrupting everything. So let's break it down. PMOs find themselves in a position these days where they have to do less, they have to do more with less. You have to do more with less because things are unpredictable. You have to justify your expenses and you have to prioritize your projects that deliver real intangible value. And we are going to dive into all of these. Let's start with, I would say, the agentic AI component. Agentic AI, give me a second here, go to the next one. This one right here. So agentic AI refers to uh, my slides right here. Agentic AI refers to autonomous system capable of decision making and also adaptive workflows. When you talk about agentic AI, I feel people saying, okay, can you give us an example? I will say, what about customer support automation? You have telecom company, there's one called Elisa that developed a chatbot named Annika, which autonomously handle inquiries from over 560,000 clients, streamlining customer service operation. You have fraud detection in finance. NICE Actimize employs agentic AI to dynamically assess risk, to analyze user behavior patterns. So you have retail and e-commerce. Those examples showcase the versatility and transformative power or potential of agentic AI. We'll talk later about generative AI and also agentic AI. What I'm trying to mention to you, my friends, is in this environment, business as usual is a recipe for failure. Organizations need to be agile, need to be adaptive, and need to be resilient. And at the heart of that agility, at the heart of this resilience lies project management. Project management no longer the way we used to know it, but project management as being modern and also strategic. And that's where the PMO comes in. The urgency of change. The traditional approaches, such as waterfall project management, follows the fixed sequence that we know: planning, execution, delivery. And such process lacks the adaptability. If I were to say, I'm going to release a product, and that product is going to go to the phase of planning, execution, delivery, and it's going to cost 12 months. By the time you're dealing with all the complexity that I just mentioned, by the time you go to market, your product may be obsolete. I'm not saying for you to rush products to the market, but you have to release some components of the product to see how it is still relevant to this market. Because the conventional methods that we used to deliver over alignment of project goals, I would tell you those conventional methods have proven to be so static and confine project teams and also business teams. It it really hurt the company versus push the company forward. So projects might be completed on time and within budget, but still fail to deliver the strategic value, resulting in missed opportunities. I remember back in the days, we took about 18 months to deliver a project. By the time we were celebrating the project, we were asked to deploy another project to replace that project that it took us 18 months to deliver. So, meaning if we were a little bit more agile, more if we were able to adapt quickly with our environment, we wouldn't have spent 18 months to deliver a project because we could not, in the middle of the project, stop it to deploy the most current application. So we had to deploy the ones that we have today, then, and then after that, bring everybody back together to undo 18 months of work to deploy something new. So, my friends, the truth is the PMO is evolving, and now we're talking about modern strategic PMO. Modern strategic PMO. What does that look like? It's no longer the traditional image that you have that focus solely on timelines and budgets. Now, remember, the PMO is the body, is the office, is the governance that should work with senior leaders of an organization to take the strategic vision of the organization, to break it down into portfolios where you have every major pillars of the organization should have a set book of work. And those book of work, you break them down into programs. I like to compare it with a house. The house will represent an organization with its portfolio. Every room in that house is what we call a program. And the program contains a book of projects. So every single room has a list of projects. So you can say, I'm doing a project in the kitchen. So the kitchen is a program, everything in the kitchen for you to do, whether it's the floor, whether it is the appliances, or whether it is the kitchen cabinet, those are projects. But those projects are confined within the room, and that room is a program. Now, the combination of all the rooms inside of that house, that's what we call a portfolio. And the PMO has to manage the resources of all those portfolios. In other words, if you had multiple houses, the multiple houses would fall under the PMO, and every house represents a program, and every house represents a portfolio, sorry. And every house has rooms, those represent programs, and every room has their own projects that we call project. Hopefully, this provides you with some kind of visual when I'm talking about PMO. So PMO today has to be strategic partners, and not only with all the houses we're talking about, and also vendors to buy things to implement inside of the house. What does that mean? That means moving beyond the delivery uh, to value. It's not enough to only simply complete the projects. You have to not measure the value they deliver to all the organizations, aligning project outcome with strategic objectives. But what does that mean? A PMO, let me give you an example. A PMO oversees the implementation of a company-wide CRM. Let's get a little bit techy here. Now, beyond ensuring the project is completed on time and within budget, the PMO also should track metrics like increasing customer service. It's no longer important to deploy a CRM, but what about sales growth to align the project success with the company's strategic goal? You may say, but you know what? This is a business function. It's not the technology function, but that's the modern PMO. A modern PMO is not only there to deliver projects. A modern PMO has to work with the business, with the executive team to deliver projects, and that's what it's a PMO. It is not the the normal project management organization. It has to go at a higher level. And also in our world, we're talking about adaptability. The PMO must work with the business to foster agility by promoting different methodologies. Waterfall and Agile, they are not the only methodologies that exist to manage projects. So a PMO has to train its stakeholders to understand there are different ways of managing projects. And we're talking about agility as well on the technology side, but also on the business side. I'll give you an example. A PMO may also shift a product development project from a traditional waterfall to agile or to lean or Six Sigma or to whichever methodology fits best. You can introduce different releases to adapt to customer feedback. So if you have a product that you release and the customers are saying something about it, you can change. Now, you don't just change in the middle of the project, you bring it at the PMO level to see if that change will impact other projects within the portfolio. And that's some of the value of the PMO. PMO also contribute to organizational resilience, identifying and mitigating risk, building contingency plans, and also make sure business continuity even in the face of disruptions. These examples, my friend, illustrate how PMOs go beyond traditional project management to deliver strategic value and also adapt to change and ensure stability. I promised you earlier I was gonna go into some details with the three components that I talked about, which was tariff, the stock market, and also AI. Let's start with the first one to show you how PMO is evolving and how PMO, the modern PMO, can help you with some of the turbulence of today. Now, we're going to be very practical, and I'm all about practicality. I'm all about how is that relevant to me today? So let's talk about the tariff, the economic uncertainty. You may say, tariff has been around. We never talk PMO and tariff. How does PMO have to do with tariff? But let's get practical. How can PMOs navigate specific challenge of tariff wars and also the economic downturns? I'll give you some key strategic way to do it. Now, what is the problem? The problem is, as I mentioned earlier, I had, as a matter of fact, in a recent meeting I had about, it was, we had a round table. We had about um, 10 of us in the room. There were people from different sectors and also business leaders there at some of the highest level, saying how they had to put some projects on hold because they're trying to figure out how to strategize with the tariff. And I believe one of the video games release also was put on hold. Now think about if you're that organization that had a product release to ship globally, and then you have this tariff hit, and how do you bring your team to really strategize so you can pretty much float with this environment of uncertainty. I will talk to you about risk management. Robust risk management, I would say, is the first one. This goes beyond standard project risk management or risk assessment. PMO needs to develop enterprise level risk management frameworks that consider macroeconomic factors, potential tariff impact, and market volatility. Who knew PMO would have to deal with tariff these days? Yes, if you're an organization, I'm not even sure if you need to be an organization that transacts globally for you to do that, because prices of the current pricing model on the market may force you to get there. What does that involve? You're talking about scenario planning, stress testing of your project budgets, and also building flexibility so you can change, so you can adapt to the conditions. About a PMO developing a risk framework for a global expansion project by considering those macroeconomic conditions. You can conduct the fluctuation of the foreign exchange rate, and also rising tariff. Is the tariff higher on you selling or on you buying? And also you can figure out how you can bring planes to pause operation and how will that impact you. So you can say this is a business operation risk management that you do along with the PMO, because the PMO oversees the projects to deliver those products to you. An example I can give you about robust risk management, not an endorsement with this company, but Apple has done a great job at that. They implemented enterprise list level management strategies to address the supply chain disruptions. And you can go to americanprofessionguide.com and you will get some good reading on that, how they'll try to do cybersecurity threats, also regulatory compliance. They diversify their supplier base, invest in supply chain visibility, and also conduct several scenario planning to adapt to what I just mentioned. You can also do portfolio optimization. In times where things are not that prevalent, you have scarcity, it's critical to prioritize your project. PMO is the best organization in a company to employ portfolio management techniques to select the right projects that align to your strategic priorities to bring you the potential ROI you're looking for. This may involve delaying or canceling less critical initiative. Think about it. This is no different than your personal life. A lot of people these days, as I talk to some of the business partners, I have folks, for instance, who own a dealership, some of them on a car wash, some of them companies, some of them on different groups, I mean, different business in the industry. And they're saying they're holding on their expenses. They're saying people are not coming to buy things. And recently, I believe there were a group of business leaders who visited the United States White House to express their to express some warnings that the tariff will impact the shelves, products in the shelves. So these things are real, my friend. Those are not hypothetical. One company that seems to kind of do kind of a good job at that is Edward Jones, and they optimize their project portfolio by prioritizing initiatives with the highest ROI and also strategic importance. This approach ensured that resources were allocated effectively while they delay less critical projects. You also have value-driven project selections. The projects that you're doing, are they justified by the tangible business value? And this is why this is not only a business exercise, a PMO is also part of it. And I consider the PMO the bridge between technology and business because you have your business goals, you have the technology or the project team, and the PMO is what translates those projects into helping the business to get the ROI. So PMO should utilize tools like business case analysis, ROI calculations, benefits realization management to ensure that resources are allocated at the most impactful projects. There is a story, as a matter of fact, I read that in one of those PMI, the Project Management Institute documentation about Ontario Power Generation, OPG. OPG's integrated PMO focuses on aligning projects with strategic goals and delivering tangible business value. And they use tools like benefit realizations management to in resource allocation and resource planning to allocate the right resources to impactful projects. And lastly, you have the supply chain strategies. Tariff can disrupt the supply chains, but PMOs need to work with procurement and logistics teams to explore diversification options. Consider local sourcing, build supply chain resilience to minimize disruptions. So Apple also is another example that also excels in supply chain resilience. They have diversified suppliers, exploring local sourcing, building an inventory buffer to mitigate disruption caused by tariffs. And all the examples that I provided to you are available on case studies online that you feel free to validate as well. Now we talk about tariff. Let's talk about another topic that I really want to take some time to talk to you about is the AI revolution. Last year, in beginning of this year, I said to myself, I was burnt out, I was done, I was tired talking about AI. It's like everywhere you go, it has to do an AI. And let me make this clear. I am really displeased with the vendor community. Again, I will say for what it's worth, I'm very displeased with the vendor community that pretty much sell AI and everything. My friends, AI is not new. AI has been around for the longest. So today, I'm not going to talk to you about AI. I'm going to be very specific about the AI component that I want you to know about. Artificial intelligence has been around for the longest. What has been new, and my friends, I will tell you this, it is not new. And November 2023, I believe, um, OpenAI released ChatGPT. And some people say, man, ChatGPT, let's be honest, ChatGPT was not invented in 2023. A lot of companies I work with ChatGPT, we call it ChatGPT. I'm referring to ChatGPT, but the term is generative AI. Generative AI has been around for the longest. As a matter of fact, I started working with generative AI back in 2019. It was not, it was more through chatbots versus the chat component that you have that you can type something and then the system speak back at you. So that's what has been made available to the public. But so generative AI, what is it? This technology of creating new content like text, images, code also has the potential to pretty much revolutionize communication, documentation, even creative tasks within projects. This component where the public can chat, can talk with a medium that can go to the internet, search the internet and bring back results and sometimes hallucinate, as we state, it's indeed new. It's indeed revolutionized, and I would say flip our society upside down. And many organizations has gotten better, and many organizations are in the brink of become obsolete. Because generative AI, the ability for it to do what it does with such large language models makes it unique in the sea of AI that regular users are familiar with. As I mentioned, generative AI is not news, so I'm not going to spend much more time on that. I'm going to talk to you about Agentic AI, which is the next frontier of artificial intelligence, large language models. AI agents can autonomously plan, execute, monitor tasks, potentially automating significant portion of project workflows. And you can say, oh, this is new. Again, this is not new. Uh, Back to 2019, I started working with Agentic AI. I would say it was not as good as it is today. Let's rephrase that. It was not good at all. So the model was there, the idea was there. Now the implementation of it today is amazing. Agentic AI is what we talk about advanced algorithms that makes decisions and execute those tasks independently. They don't really need a human anymore. But it's through interaction with observation of its environment. If I were to rephrase, I'm trying to get something very clear everybody can relate to. It's the ability for the algorithm to plan, to reflect on learning, and use tools to execute tasks. An AI agent under the term agentic AI, the goal is to complete specific tasks or achieve goals that you can assign to it without requiring human intervention. And my friends, this is the beginning of what we call general AI. Right now, we are dealing with narrow AI. In the narrow AI, you have the generative AI, the agentic AI, you have deep learning, you have the machine learning. The general AI is where machines will become a little bit more sentient. And further, you're going to have super AI is when the machine will take over pretty much. They're not no longer going to need human being. And if you ask me, how do you know all those words? Guess what? They are already being tested. So I'm telling you this now, so when it happens, you don't think it's all news. However, when it becomes available to the market, then yes, it will be big news. So how does agentic AI work? Agency AI are workflows that dissect large tasks into smaller executable segments and then processes with advanced reasoning so they can fulfill those tasks. PMOs have a critical role to play in harnessing the power of agentic AI for project management. The Project Management Institute already have a generative AI bots, I believe, that you can download for project management. Think about it. Project scope, risk management, issue management, all of those you can interact with this bot, this chat, this generative AI to really help you. So if you're looking for a template, instead of going to the internet to find that template, a generative AI can give you that template. So agentic AI can help you with analyze fast data sets so that you can optimize project schedules, predict potential delays, allocate resources more efficiently. Think about that. You have in Microsoft Project a resource list, and you can upload this thing and a tool and say, I want you to access all those resources for me across all of these projects, across the whole company. And I need you to find the most effective way to allocate those resources to the right projects. Think about the power of such tool. Let's move from planning and scheduling. Let's talk about risk management. AI, agentic AI can identify patterns in your data to predict project risk more accurately and proactively. And it can do it as you are entering data, as your project managers and your organizations are entering data. It can allow you to implement mitigation strategies way ahead of time. Think about the power of that. As PM, if you're a PMO professional, you'll know what I'm talking about if I talk to you about watermelon projects. Watermelon projects are projects that are green on the outside and red on the inside. Agentic AI, my friends, can stop projects from becoming watermelons. What about automation PMO processes? And many PMOs, we have to hire people to do reporting to develop processes. AI can automate routine tasks like reporting, data entry, and project tracking, and your PMO staff can focus on more strategic initiatives versus doing the mundane work. Data-driven decision making. In 2024, The data decision making. Sorry, I started this one, didn't finish. The analytics. PMO can leverage AI for analytics to provide real-time insights into project performance. You know how many of us love dashboards? We like the little green, yellow, red. A PMO, an agentic AI enabled in a PMO can make this like nothing. And you can trust partly in the data. Now, if you are gonna ask me, oh, the tool is not gonna do it 100%. I was talking to a PMO professional a couple of months ago. He was telling me how the tool is terrible, the project managers are going to become dumb. Probably true in certain aspect, but the tool is not perfect because the people using the tool is not perfect. Now, the tool did not create itself. When we get to super AI, we may get to that perfection, but right now it is not perfect. And think about if the human error rate was about 70%, 75%, the tool bring that error rate down to 30%. And I can stand next to that. Believe me, if you try it, you will see what I'm talking about. If 2024 was the year of Gen AI, agentic AI, it was all about education. That's why wherever you go, you hear about it. 2025, my friend, is going to be the year for return on investments. You have a lot of industries that are turning to generative AI to revolutionize their products and services. There have been 10.5 billion dollars of venture funding raised by generative AI startups as of, I believe, was Q3 2024, including OpenAI $6.8 billion, including Microsoft investment and OpenAI. You can find that information in TechCrunch, part of their October release in 2024. You have about 149 foundational models that were released in 2023. That was more than double of that in 2022. You have about $191 million spent in training costs. And you have about 35% of AI software now will be from Gen AI software by 2027, according to a report I read from Gartner. That was like around November, December 2024. So what I'm saying here is agency AI can no longer be something to think about. It has to be something you talk about. It has to be something you do something about. Now, as I mentioned, the tool is not perfect. There will be some challenges. AI models requires uh, quality data for them to function. So PMO, you must ensure you have project data is accurate, complete, and accessible. You also have the ethical considerations, and there's the ethical implication of AI, including bias in algorithm. And somebody asked me, will AI ever be non-biased? I'm like, AI will be non-biased the minute human being stop being biased. So don't blame the tool, blame the people. And you also, of course, need to have some type of governance. Otherwise, it really does not cut it. And that's what the governance is all about. The governance need you must have that human in the loop to have the right framework to ensure AI is used responsibly in your organization and that people can access information that is relevant to them versus information that they do not have access to. So, my friends, I just show you that with the politics that's happening in this world, and also with the tools that are pretty much spreading, PMO sits right in the middle of them, right in the middle of them. Now, you can ask the question, then what do we do? What do we do is we build a resilient PMO. To thrive in organization as it is today, PMO must evolve into an integrate component of an organization. Now, I have seen PMOs, and that's there in names. I say in names because I ask myself, what do they really do? Yes, the different type of PMOs, and some PMOs are like they're like the police telling people what not to do. If you find yourself in a PMO like this, please increase your education. That is not the resilient PMO. If your PMO is there to provide project managers to a project here and there, that's not a resilient PMO. And resilient PMO is integrated with the business. And resilient PMO is adaptable and also have some flexibility to adjust to changing circumstances, embrace new technologies, modify processes as needed. If you're in a PMO, you don't talk about new technologies. You're not talking about process improvement. You're not talking about the reality of today. You're not a resilient PMO. If you're in a PMO, you don't have a deep understanding of the organizational goals and the ability to align project portfolio to deliver on those goals, you're not a resilient PMO. Now, I am not talking about the business doing the prioritization and give it to the PMO. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the PMO being at the table to evaluate the pros and cons of a project, to have the information readily available when the C-level executives are asking what projects are bringing us the are addressing the programs that bring us the most revenue. The PMO should have that information readily available. If you're in a PMO, you don't have effective communication. That means collaborations, relationship building with all stakeholders, and the C-level executive do not even know who in the PMO, who's running the PMO, who are the players in the PMO. You're not in a resilient PMO. If you're not leveraging data for analytics to inform decisions making, track performance, and also go further to analytics, where you can relentlessly emphasize delivering measurable business outcomes, my friends, you're not in a resilient PMO. So, how do you do it? To build this resilient PMO, you need to take some proactive steps. You must assess your current capabilities, strengths, and weaknesses. Develop a roadmap for transformation by defining clear goals and milestones. Invest in training. Of course, I'm a bias for training, but I will tell you training, 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 and embrace technology. You have to explore and implement tools that makes the PMO effective. You cannot have a PMO and do not have technology to help your project managers to converse with their stakeholders, to collect project artifacts, and also to put them into a repository for project archiving. Yes, SharePoint is no longer a tool I would recommend to manage a PMO. Smartsheet may help you here and there, but there are tools out there that can help you. And definitely not Microsoft Excel. Please, still, Microsoft Excel is not emerging technologies. Okay? Microsoft Excel is obsolete. Microsoft Excel is what you use to get information here and there. You cannot run an organization in Microsoft Excel. You can survive using Microsoft Excel, but you're not gonna thrive using Microsoft Excel. And my friend, this does it for us when it comes to the information about the PMO. I did ask some of you to ask questions ahead of time, and I did get a couple of questions. So let me take a pause to figure out if we have any questions. And Tony, I believe you're still on live on the webinar. Do you have any questions before I go to the other questions we had?
So, Jimmy, no questions per se. I think I put a couple of comments there. Whatever you say is very timely and very apt, in line with some of the discussions I personally have been having with folks. So it's very nice to see it being echoed. So thank you for that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I am sharing live, so I don't have access to your comments, but I will
Oh,
make
okay.
sure. Oh, you know what? Just give me a second. I
Yeah,
think I
yeah,
can pull it.
yeah.
Um,
Especially as you're looking for it, like the bias part on the AI, that was something I was talking to folks about, exactly like you're saying. Till the time humans don't have a bias, none of what we create will not have a bias.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. You cannot be biased and ask the tool not to be biased and when you program the
correct,
tool. But
correct.
thank you so much, Tony. First, thank you for joining us live and everybody else. And I'm looking at the YouTube comments and also the LinkedIn to see if I have anything else. The one question, I think I have three questions here. The first one is, You mentioned the importance of AI governance in PMO. Could you give a specific example of a governance framework or a set of guidelines that you have seen work well in practice, especially concerning the ethical use of generative AI in project communication? Wow, that's a big one. That's a very important question. So if I were to read it again, the importance of AI governance in PMO and also um, a specific example of a governance framework that work well in practice, especially concerning the ethical use of generative AI. Yeah, by the way, thank
Question.
you. Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, sorry, not to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought I was on mute. Please go
yeah.
ahead.
So this is a very timely question. It's a very great question because I like the notion also you're using the word generative AI, you're not using AI. AI governance is indeed crucial, especially with the increasing of generative AI and communication. Now, stay with me. I'm talking about the ability of you to take a text, put it in ChatGPT, and do something with it. While there isn't a one-size-fits-all framework, because I have used many of those tools, some of those tools, whether it is ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, Grammarly, but I mean, you name it. And also for their, since I do a lot of research, I use some also research AI tools. The tool is pretty much out there. Ethical guidelines is so important. I cannot undermine. I cannot stress that enough. Transparency for me is everything. Ensure the people we're working with are aware when they're interacting with AI generated content. For instance, if you had a chatbot disclosing their AI nature, um, a PM once told me, if I use AI to create a project template, should I put at the bottom that says AI generated? I'm not sure you need to go to that kind of level because if you were to go online, you get something from Google. If you are going to put the source, then yes, I would probably say, AI generated. But think about it. You could work hard yourself, create something, and you put it to ChatGPT, and you say ChatGPT rephrase, or you can say ChatGPT review, assess, and give me feedback. That is not AI generated. That is your hard work. I would say anything that has to do to processes that may deal has to do with accuracy, reliability of AI generated information, you should definitely disclose that. We're talking about bias mitigation, as Tom mentioned, actively working to identify potential of bias in AI algorithms. Now, as users, you're not going to get that because you don't have access to the data model to avoid discriminatory or unfair outputs. This is why you have to review what is given to you. You cannot make this statement, I got this from AI, so I'm not responsible for it. This does not cut it out. If you're doing the research, you take your information, you put it to ChatGPT, you put it to Copilot or Gemini, whatever the results that you're given, you're responsible for that result. Just like I said, I can just create an email. You know what? I can say reply to Tom's answer, use casual voice or use a business voice, business tone. I am responsible for me communicating that out. Because an AI tool give it to you is not a license to share to all. So I would say data privacy also. Do not put your information out there. Okay. Don't put all your information out there and the other AI tool is using it and then for you to get upset. I know an old proverb that says if the bedroom does not give, the living room does not receive. In other words, your secrets, keep them in your bedroom. Don't put those things in your living room where the whole internet can access. My friend, it is no different than what it is today. Okay, it is no different. It is not true because it's on the internet. It is true because it's on the internet. At the end of the day, the judgment is yours. I'll also talk about a risk framework. A risk framework is important. You should assess the risks associated with AI, misinformation, reputable damage, legal compliance. Because if you're a business, you take something from AI, you distribute it. It's just like you take it from the internet, you distribute it. That's why you must have the human oversight. Have a review board, to assess and approve AI communication strategies in AI projects. Do have some escalation procedures, have somebody else read what you're putting out there. Training and awareness for me is the main thing. Organization must have trainings on AI. It cannot just be just like that. You must have training. As a matter of fact, I would say before your organization can use AI, any of those generative AI tools, they should have some training, sign a document to say that they are accountable for the results, and then let them use it. If they have not gone through those steps I mentioned above, do not let them use those tools in your organization like freely like that. I have another question. I hope this answered the question. And I guess one thing I'll probably say have it some type of checklist, whether it's ethics checklist to really help. In the interest of time, let me go to we have two more questions. The next one is the increased focus on agentic AI. How do you see the role of the project manager evolving? Will they be managing AI agents instead of human team members? And what new skills will be most critical for them? Dang, that's a big one. How much time do I have? All right. Let me read it again just so that I make sure I capture it. With the increased focus on agentic AI, will project managers have jobs tomorrow? Will we be managing AI agents versus human team members? This is a forward-thinking question, and I believe this is the right question to ask. And the role of program managers will undoubtedly evolve with agentic AI. While I do not foresee project managers being replacing by AI agents tomorrow, I said tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow, your role will shift towards a blend of human and AI team management. Do some research on something we call the fifth industrial revolution. I would stop here because that's a huge topic. Research that, okay? Here's how I see it. Project managers, program managers, portfolio managers, your jobs have changed. You just have not realized that. You will soon become orchestrators, coordinators of work, both between human team members and AI agents. That means you need to have understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of each of the tasks that your team is doing. For instance, AI agents might handle routine tasks like data collection and reporting, while humans focus on complex problem solving and stakeholder engagement. Now, you can leverage both of them. We can have a strategy session. Following the strategy session, you take the results and put it to an AI agent to say, I need you to assess the result of our strategic session. Where did we go right? Where did we go wrong? What other companies have done what we were trying to do? That's how you combine human work and AI work. You have AI integration and implementation. Project managers will need to be proficient in identifying opportunities to integrate agentic AI into project workflows, overseeing their implementation. That means the right AI tools, configure them effectively, and ensure they align with the project goals. I will also say project monitoring and optimization. You will need to monitor the performance of both human and AI team members. Now, you can use the AI tools to monitor the humans as well. So I'll leave that up to you. Then that leaves you to what I call the ethical leadership. That means consideration surrounding all those AI and also project managers to provide that ethical leadership. Because if you're doing the wrong thing, don't ask other people to do the right thing. In summary, I would say the most critical skills for project management leaders or for leaders in general will include understand AI concepts, capabilities, and limitations. That means AI literacy, data analysis, have some knowledge for you to interpret data and make decisions based on that. I would say workflow design, automation knowledge. I would say ethical decision making. If you're an unethical person today, Lord have mercy on us. If you are an ethical person today, we need you more than ever. Then change management, organizational change associated with AI is very relevant. I have 5 more minutes. Let me go ahead and get the last question that says, in our organization, we're struggling to justify investment in PMO tools, in training, when facing pressure to cut costs due to economic uncertainty? What's the most compelling argument we can make to our leadership to demonstrate the ROI? That's a good one. Not sure I have time to get into it, but I would say minimize losses and maximize ROI is always the way you speak business. Um, PMO can ensure that projects are carefully selected. If you're on a PMO and you're not bringing value, you need to ask yourself, what I'm doing? Strategic alignment and prioritization. Does your PMO have the ability to take all the projects and pretty much prioritize them strategically? And also, I would say productivity gains and lower long-term value creation. If your PMO has not yet proven that they're valuable, that we could have managed the business without it, then why you're here? So this is it for me today, my friend. So I urge you to take some actions, and the way you take actions, and I will tell you, I hope you learned something valuable today that you can assess your PMO readiness. And I said earlier, in your PMO, invest in your team, invest in training. I have two training sessions coming up in PMOs. One is June 7 and 8. If you attend this webinar, you automatically get a 10%. Or if you send me your email address that you attended this webinar or you saw this webinar for over the weekend, there will be 10% for the price of this training. So the first training is in June 7 and 8, 5 a.m., 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. Sorry, my folks in the Pacific time. Again, if you want it, you will join because I'm giving you information on how to be effective PMO and how to build a PMO, understand PMO. It will be our certified baseline PMO. That will be it's a 2 day, it's a 4 day session, and same time, June 14th, 15th, I believe it was the 21st, the 22nd. So those are not the same session. The CA PMO is a certified associate PMO training, and the other one is certified baseline PMO training, where I go into several information and share with you framework on how to lead a PMO. My friend, I hope that's all the time we have. Want to be very respectful of your time. I hope this information was very valuable to you, and hopefully you can join us in our training. You can join us to really dive into what is a PMO, how do you bring value, how do you set up a PMO in your organization, or even have access to the tools that I will be sharing that you can assess the value of a PMO so that you can be successful. Remember, we manage tasks, we lead people. And the fifth industrial revolution is asking just for that, for us to lead people. And the PMO is really a great vehicle that you can bring value to your organization. Thank you. Before we leave, Tom, any last minute questions from you? No, nothing from Tom. On this note, I would say, see you, everyone. And hope I get to catch you later, somewhere, another day, another place. Until then, have a great day. See ya. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, you manage tasks, but you lead people.